Hey, yo, what's going on, guys? We are here for episode number 5 of Marvel Yap. We're going to be going over the OTA. We're going to be doing a meta report. We're going to be going over Madame Web. And we're going to talk about what we did with Infinite, how Activate's kind of, working out and everything. But let's go ahead and jump right into it. And as always, we are joined with the hostest with the mostest, notmydance. How are we doing today, Dance?
I'm doing absolutely solid. It's still throwing me off. I'm doing great. I'm having a great time. We'll talk about a bit like the meta's feeling. It feels very open, but at the same time, I feel like nothing is working. I don't know. It's weird, but in general, I'm feeling great. The Marvel Snap, I feel like there's a lot of give and take there in general. But how are you doing? You're in your new place where you got a whole new setup. Look at you, looking. Are you standing? Are you going to standing?
I'm like sitting in like a bar stool. So like my chair that I was going to move down, if you guys didn't know, a couple months ago, like snapped in half. So I was using a makeshift chair. So I should be getting a new chair at some point this week or next week. We'll see. But like I have a different elevation. The desk is different now. We lost a monitor in the move. But we're in a good spot now. The move's been great. I like the new layout. I like actually being down here in Florida. It just feels awesome. There's a 1 hour time difference now. We're Central Time instead of Eastern. And honestly, I like being in Central more than being Eastern. I'll be honest.
Central. Hey, you're one closer to the superior time zone. Mountain time zone is still where it's at. Even though my sleep schedule speaks as if I'm Eastern, but it's fine.
Yeah, no, I think it's interesting, and I think you brought up a great point about like just the meta right now. We're gonna dive into Activate here in a second, of course, but like I think there's so many situations I've run into in this game this season where every game feels like a 50-50, and it feels like I really could have done something differently here, or it's like I misplayed on turn 2, so now I'm put myself into a 50-50 kind of situation. And it feels like you can try a whole bunch of different lists. There are people trying a whole bunch of different lists, and then there's a lot of people playing the same thing.
Very true. Yeah, there's a lot. I feel like what is it? I don't know. It feels like there are a lot of people playing the same thing. But, I mean, just to talk about it, I mean, what exactly are the subjects that we're going to be talking about here? Just so we can actually have a full breakdown of this stuff before we just kind of talk about or yap about whatever.
So today we're going to be talking about Activate, which we have Symbiote Spider-Man here right now. It's going to be the only card in the game right now that is in Activate at the time of posting this podcast, which we are also in the process of making this an audio-only podcast too on some of the other platforms. We're just in a bit of a tricky, trying to get it uploaded and stuff's been kind of just not great.
Full transparency, we hit the upload button on some of the other platforms, and it just says, sorry. So we'll let you know when we get something else going on with that. We have them ready. We're legit just trying to figure them out. If y'all have suggestions, let us know down below. But still, we're trying. But yeah, that's Activate's the first bit. We'll talk more about the meta as well. But then I feel like this OTA, right, the last subject, it's weird. I don't feel like I have any cards that I even say want to get like really buffed or like really nerfed based off of stats. It's so I feel like I've typically try to come into the game in a much more like trying to talk about the numbers, the data behind this stuff. But in all transparency, I feel like with this OTA, I'm much more kind of just going off of feels, just kind of going off of the vibes and what vibes I'm feeling on certain cards, which maybe it's truthful, maybe it's not, I don't know. But that's kind of where I am at in this OT with my current feeling of the meta / what I want for the OTA, that whole the whole 9 yards there. I don't know.
Yeah,
but I like that vibe.
Yeah, the OTA I feel like is more of a numerical change to some of these cards, like a 1 or 2 point kind of thing, opposed to something needing drastic. And I know we've ragged on Loki Erishim in the last, Yap and probably Yap before and stuff, but like at this point right now, it has died down. I'm not seeing as much Erishim. I'm not seeing as much Loki. Like I feel like we've kind of grown past that, and we do have people trying out some new things, which feels awesome. But it feels like at the same time, there are certain games where I just can't play anything because it's just junk everywhere. And like, if I'm not running everything or predicting where this junk is going to go, I just can't play my cards, and that just kind of stinks. But we're not here just to complain about things. We're here to talk about things, and we're going to talk about Symbiote Spider-Man, the first ever Activate card in the game. Dance, how are you feeling about Symbiote Spider-Man?
I'll say on the front of what you're talking about, just the meta, right? The meta has felt very anti-symbiote Spider-Man.
Yes.
I feel like the meta's been extremely just rough against it, extremely difficult for it to actually work because of all the clog, all the junk that we're seeing right now. In general, I think this is an okay card. I don't think it's actually crazy good. I don't think it's crazy bad either. I think what is it? Your video that you uploaded was, I think, potentially one of the best homes for Symbiote Spider-Man with what's the face with Phoenix Force. But in general, I feel like I've seen a lot of people using it in different places, a lot of different other stuff there. I don't really feel like it's found like an immediate home. It reminds me kind of Absorbing Man in that way, where it's like there's not an easy answer for what is the best place for this card, and I'm kind of okay with that still.
Yeah.
I feel like the last season and even season before last with Gwenpool, it feels like those cards were very plug and playable into a lot of different archetypes, whereas Symbiote Spider-Man isn't necessarily benefiting the other archetypes that it's going in. It isn't bad, but I don't know if it is strictly benefiting those other archetypes.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think basing off like what you said too, Symbiote Spider-Man is not a primary win con card. It's something to help you win games as either an alternate line if you can't get your combo in the beginning. But I think a lot of the meta definitely, like you said, has adjusted to how much Symbiote Spider-Man there is, because most people do buy the season pass and most people are trying out this and they're trying to do big combo clip plays with Symbiote Spider-Man because they want to do fancy things with the new card. I'm definitely one of those people that's trying to do fancy things with the new card.
Would never. I would never. If it wasn't aware, Tug actually was streaming, and I played it. It's the only time actually I've played you on ladder, and I was running one of those combo decks, which isn't good, but I was still running it, and I said, you know what? I have Galactus. I've got Symbiote Spider-Man. If I can Galactus Tucker, the one game I've played against him on ladder, I was down for it. I was excited for it. Didn't work, but I was still, I tried. I gave it the old college try. Did not go well for me in the long run, but I did. I was happy to be able to at least try it. And apparently I found out afterwards that your chat warned you about this. I could have even beat you. I could have beat you, but
you could have, but chat
streamer
stepped in and said, nope, we want Tucker to beat Dance. So sure enough.
How dare they? How dare they? It's not a great card. It's not bad, I don't think. I feel like if it's going to be a really good card, I think we're going to really see it do better in the coming weeks when I think Clog dies down as like a counter or whatever. But I feel like for the time being, I don't think Symbiote Spider-Man is bad. And I think it actually does show a lot of really cool stuff about Activate itself. And I really like that.
Yeah, I think this card is an okay card. I think I'm high on this card because I enjoy it, but I can own the fact that it's not a great card right now. It's going to be kind of meta dependent, like you're saying too. And like I think there's nothing, I would not reduce the cost of Symbiote Spider-Man at all, because if you reduce the cost of this card, then where it gets really busted. I think the 4 cost is the right slot for this card. There's just so much clog going on. That's like the main reason why it is what it is. But I do like that this is the card we're using to learn how to do activate things. Because it is a targeted ability, it allows you to understand the mechanic more, opposed to next card you play does this. You can do this and it goes to a random thing here. I feel like having the target, it helps us like get in the mindset of what activate does. And I've also started, instead of just holding down on the card, I'm clicking the card and tapping activate, because there's been a lot of instances I haven't held down on the card long enough to be considered activate. So I would definitely advise clicking on the card and clicking activate, opposed to just holding down to activate the card.
Okay, I'm glad that was you as well, because I felt like there were so many times I felt like I heard the noise, I thought I was good, and it didn't happen.
Yep.
I don't know. It's a whole learning curve with activate, trying to figure stuff out. And with that part of it, in addition to the fact, like, I feel like it took a bit for some people to be like, okay, wait, when does the timing on all of this work? Do you have to activate before, after? It has to be with a revealed card. It always, again, is the cheapest card at its location. Like, and then if it's multiple cards, it's kind of random and you have to accept that. All of this stuff, like I tried to do some stuff where I tried to Zola it and then activate, seeing if it would work. Maybe both the copies. Doesn't work. But like stuff like that where it's people trying to figure out how this new card works and thusly how activate works. And I think that's really cool. I don't even know if I want this card to get buffed.
No, I think it's okay the way it is.
I'm happy with this. I think it's a really, like you said, I think it's a great way to introduce Activate to the game, because it's not just like we'll see probably with Hellcow and or Black Swan, which I'm gonna guess it's gonna be in the OTA this week, but it's not just with those two, or patch next week. Yeah, it's not gonna be just like those. It's gonna be something different. It's gonna be it doesn't feel like this Activate ability does something that we could experience in Snap already. It feels like it does something new on its own, and I think it really lets the new card, the new ability, just all of this stuff stand out in a really nice way that I think is honestly great for season pass cards, similar to how like Zemo pretty much unlocked the whole mill archetype. It's still not a strong archetype, but it's still a really fun deck, and I think it only worked because of Zemo. You couldn't really do it without that. In the same way that I feel like Symbiote Spider-Man really unlocks this whole Activate stuff. I think it's still going to be a bit before we can see the best decks for this card, but I really do like it.
Yeah, I think it's a really fun card, and we've been kind of brushing the surface now on our thoughts on the meta. But if we're gonna dive right into that, I think one of the main cards I just want to put on the board right now is, I think Viper is actually a very focal card in the meta when it comes to Clog, and I feel like people are using this way more than just popping over a hood and just popping over a void. So what are your thoughts right now? Do you think Clog is one of the main like archetypes you're seeing around? I know there's probably a couple. We'll talk about those, but is this one of the primaries you think?
I think that Viper is definitely needing. I don't even know if it's just Viper. I just feel like in general, I think Viper does a good job of illustrating the Clog archetype, and I think Clog as a whole probably should get hit. I feel like it's what is it? Well, like it's one of the parts about the meta that I don't mind so much. Are we fully going into this meta thoughts section? Are we fully like moving into this next section?
Yeah, we're gonna turn off topic number 1, and boom, we're on it.
All right, I just want to make sure before I like really keep diving. But I really enjoy it as a concept. I feel like it's just the tools that it has received as more and more cards have come out. Feels like it's maybe just getting a bit too much. I actually really like the way Atuma can counter that a bit, but it doesn't. I don't know. It's like, yes, Atuma's being run a destroy list now, which is interesting to see that. I like I've enjoyed the Atuma lists that are with Scar and such. I think those are really fun. I've been even before Atuma got changed, I was already enjoying those styles of lists, and I feel like Atuma's change even pushed that higher. But I definitely feel like Clog as a whole is probably just a bit too strong right now. I feel like there's a lot of cards, maybe not a lot, maybe just a couple, that could just get hit a bit. And I think Viper could be one of them. A card that I'm surprised that we haven't been seeing more of, and it's a card that I've actually tried to run, and whether it's due to my own lack of skill or it's because the card isn't that great, I expected a Nihilist to be more in this meta. Did you expect that as well? I don't know.
So, like, I think what had happened is Annihilus is still, like, an incredible card, but I think people have swapped out Annihilus because they think it's a little bit too predictable for something like Cersei instead, which is very much so more unpredictable, and even maybe a Lady Deathstrike instead. I feel like people kind of been messing around with that, but I think, like you said, too, another card that I think people should be playing a lot more of right now is Killmonger. I think not a lot of people are playing Killmonger, with Zeus still being prevalent. I feel like you're seeing Killmonger just in Surfer. You're seeing Killmonger just in Destroy. I think it's about time for another Black Bolt all stats deck to come through. And maybe it's an alteration of the current one with Darkhawk. Maybe you make a swap with Cassandra because you're not seeing as much Erisham, and you put Killmonger in there, which maybe we'll try some of that. But I think that's another card. But I think, like you said, I think Annihilus, it might be a time for Annihilus to go back to a 5/7.
I wouldn't mind. I don't think I'd mind. I don't know. I feel like, again, I'm just kind of surprised that he hasn't been around more. That's been my biggest situation with him. Like, the Alex Swirly album came out. I got the new Annihilus, and I was like, oh, I'm excited. I'm going to play this stuff. And I was like, I just couldn't do something that felt meaningful. I don't know. And I was looking. I even went through Untapped trying to look at the top decks. He's just not beneficial. In Infinite right now, He's got 0 cubes, and his win rate's 49.9, basically 50-50. So it's like the card's really mid right now, which is honestly surprising.
Yeah, because when this card first came out, it was kind of like what happened with High Evo. It was like this card was everyone was using it. It was a mirror match all the time, and then it's literally the Toy Story. Like, oh, I got a brand new toy. I don't want to play with you anymore. We got Cersei. We don't want to play with a Nihilist anymore. We don't want to have to make sure we're getting value with the Void or something over to the opponent's side of the board. We needed to do something else. But I think and maybe it is the stat line, like the 5-6 opposed to a 5-7, and what you could do instead, offsetting your opponent's side of the board, killing their cards if they do try to block your Void kind of thing, or if you're trying to just turn them into something else and turn a 4 cost into a 5 cost and get value from -8 to normally something even better. Like, I wonder if that's more of the thing, like people aren't playing a Nihilist, or people are getting clogged too much. They don't have board space to be able to play a Nihilist on the board.
So my guess of why Nihilist is also so weak right now is actually going into the previous card you talked about, Viper. Viper basically feels like another new card.
Yep.
She went from being useless to like, she's just like a 3 cost Nihilist, because oftentimes you don't have that many cards on your side of the board. That many cards that are really going to be a problem. So I feel like Viper has just kind of taken the place of that in a lot of situations. And it's weird that that's the situation right now, but I really feel like that's the biggest reason why she is so much, or why we're seeing so little in Nihilist in comparison.
I think definitely that. And then, like, I also want to bring up another reason why we might not be seeing a Nihilist is because of Sandman. And I think the Sandman Patriot Shell might be a main reason we're not seeing as much Nihilist, because a Nihilist was a turn 5, turn 6 play. But if you don't get your Nihilist down on turn 5 and you don't have priority going into turn 6, you just get Ultron, and there's no way for you to do anything with the Void. And like you would have been normally playing like in a Nihilist in a Hood, like a Nihilist in a Demon kind of thing on turn 6 to add 6 power, potentially add that 8 power swing. But I think this is another card, not even just with a Nihilist. I think overall in the meta, this got a slap on the wrist going from a 5-7 to a 5-6. No other card really in that entire list was readjusted. Like,
well, it's because, don't worry though. Don't worry. Beast is 3-5 now. Okay, I will say actually on the Beast thing, he still feels fine. Yeah. Actually, I will say, because we recorded the last one a little bit early because you had to move and all that stuff. But like taking time on it, I don't like it, but Beast still is, in my opinion, actually fine. Yes. I don't like the change, but I think he's still chill. I don't think he's dead by any means. If anything, it kind of let him be a little bit more flexible in the list that you were playing him in, so that he was actually beneficial. Like he was a good stat line in those lanes, right? And that felt interesting. But you know what's actually wild? And again, going on what we talked about before, Loki Erisham. Have you seen? Do you know what the meta share of those decks currently are right now?
Let me bring it up. We're gonna put Loki on screen, and then I'm gonna bring up the untapped. We're gonna make it into the center again.
Sure. Well, while you pull it up, I'll just say Erisham currently, and again, I'm going off of I'm only using the infinite stats currently, but at least Erisham right now, it's only at a 7.6% popularity, and it's technically the highest one right now, but it's not. The win rate's down by an incredible margin. I think, again, just going off public stats right now, it's doing worse than Sandman, doing worse than Surfer, doing worse than Classic Zoo, doing worse than High Evo, which I honestly didn't realize was doing this well. So all of these are just doing a whole lot worse in comparison, and I'm kind of like that.
Yeah, honestly, I didn't realize how this is the main deck right here too on screen. It might be a little small, but this is the last 7 days. This is post Infinite. The list did not really change like at all in the slightest. I think maybe Cassandra Nova you swap out for Copycat. I think that would probably be better for the swap for this list. But to be at 8% now, that's like maybe we all were complaining so much about it. People actually, are shameful to play Erisham. Maybe that's what it is.
A little bit. I will say I think Erisham is in a much better place. However, my statement, as I've said, I think for the past 2 or 3, is just like it still just feels bad when you lose to it. When you still get hit with 15 copies of why 15 copies of whatever. It still just feels bad. Again, I think it's definitely better. I think it still feels just as bad when you do lose to it, but I think it's definitely in a better place.
Yeah, and I think if we look at it like holistically, on ladder, it feels bad to lose to Airshim, but it feels more beatable on ladder. When it goes into Conquest, it's a whole different beast. It's literally a whole different beast because the unknown aspect you can get in Conquest is just really what makes or breaks a matchup because, you know, it's tournament setting, kind of. I mean, it's not because Conquest, whatever. But, like, you're stuck with this, like, deck for at least 10 rounds if there's no snapping and you just go for 2 cubes and you're just going back and forth kind of thing. And that's the feels bad, but like you said, like I'm not as mad at Airshim anymore. I'm not as mad at the OTA anymore. I think there's just other things that I feel like need to happen to maybe just add a little bit more just like quality of life stuff for Snap opposed to just like completely flip the meta on its head.
Yeah. Again, I will say Airshim's in a much better place. I don't like it still.
Yeah.
But I do think it's in a better place.
Yeah, I agree.
What is it? A fun fact, actually, I used Airshim to do an Infinity Conquest as the season rolled over last week. And I beat Infinity Conquest with an Airshim list. It was not a good Airshim list, but it was Airshim, whatever. I did it because I had 20 minutes left in the season to finish. Beat it. Found out that I finished actually Infinity Conquest 15 or 13 minutes after the new season started. And I've been currently told by Second Dinner that I'm not getting an avatar because of that, which is very unfortunate. I was off, but don't worry. Apparently, I might be getting 50 gold. So
50 gold
instead.
Okay. Oh my goodness. The same amount of gold you would get just from using the gold pass.
I know, right? Yeah. I mean, that's a different conversation I can get into, but I'm not going to. But legitimately, in general, I feel like the thing that we haven't talked about is the number one, is the best. I want to say this is the deck that feels the best to me on ladder right now. I think the Ajax lists.
Yeah, Ajax, the Toxic Clog.
I feel like in general, those lists are just potentially just the best lists on the ladder right now. And I will say, like, there's a lot of people talking about how Silver Sable was like the card to get this week. This is getting uploaded like the very last day of the Spotlight caches. Y'all don't have US Agent by this point. I will say US Agent, in my personal opinion, is the best card in that Spotlight cache. After playing with Silver Sable for a week, she's good. US Agent is much better by like every stretch of the imagination. It just does so much more for the decks that you would like to use it in. So much more control, does so much more benefit in comparison. Like, none of the cards this week have been bad, but right now it's US Agent, like US Agent's here, Mockingbird, and then Silver Sable, but like there's not a lot of room between them. They're all good. I think I'm gonna say that US Agent feels like one of the best cards, and Ajax lists are part of the reason.
Okay, that's a hot take.
Do you disagree with that? We're talking meta.
I think it is Mockingbird, US Agent, or Mockingbird, Silver Sable, US Agent.
You think US Agent's at the bottom still?
I look at flexibility and the amount of lists they can go into as well, opposed to like you could win with this Ajax list, I believe, without US Agent.
I think you'd be hard pressed to. I'm excited. I'll challenge you to that, but I feel like it'd be a lot hard. I feel like you could technically, but it's a lot harder when there's like someone asking a sub for US Agent. There's not a good no card controls a lane. No card is a 2-cost 2-cost 19 power card. Sometimes, especially one of the reasons I do enjoy it is against Airshim. I just feel like US Agent just gives so much more flexibility in those lists. I will say Mockingbird. I could easily see Mockingbird eventually being better than US Agent. I'll give you that. But if it comes between at least US Agent and Silver Sable, I do think US Agent's better and at least more flexible than Silver Sable.
Well, I think if we look at a lot of these decks too, like if we're running into an Ajax list, like Ajax is pretty much the top end in this list. So like if you're playing a US Agent against this list, you're trying to make sure you're in the Man-Thing and and Ajax lane to be able to get maximum US Agent value. Whereas like I'm also seeing a lot of just Wiccan Slam, and I'm seeing a lot of other junk situations where it's like US Agent isn't getting as much value in some of these junk lists because they're playing 3 drops, 2 drops, 1 drops, opposed to loading lanes with like 4s, 5s, and 6s. So like I'm liking the Mockingbird value in that sense because you have token cards getting thrown to your side of the board all the time. You're playing tokens as well to enable other stuff. And then like Silver Sable is best in bounce. I think Silver Sable is best in bounce. I think she is an incredible 1-drop. The 1/5 stat line is good. But I think a 1/5 is good, but like it still can get Shadow King and stuff. Luke Cage is everywhere right now because of freaking all of this Ajax stuff and everything too. Whereas like Mockingbird doesn't really get affected by Luke Cage, where Luke Cage does affect US Agent and does affect Silver Sable. And I like the flexibility more of Mockingbird into like there's the big dumb idiots. You're throwing down Mysterios, you get a 3-cost Mockingbird that's 10 power to enable you to be able to do Scar stuff. You can do Sasquatch stuff. I feel like I just like the flexibility more of Mockingbird. I think this week might be the best week to open this entire season. Which, like you said, at the time posting this video, it's going to be like early in the morning on Tuesday, so it's still possible. I think this week and then the Aranya week are probably 2 of the best weeks. Potentially the Scarlet Spider week too, because you have Scar and White Widow, because White Widow is just incredible overall, one of the best 2-drops. But I do think if you have spotlights and you're not for certain on some of the other cards or other spotlights this season, open this week. It is 3 Series 5 cards, and you will not be disappointed.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think this week and then next week, so we do have Madam Web, Alioth, and Silk. And I feel like it's not a bad... Again, I don't feel like there's a bad week this month. But I want to say that is that the worst week this month? Is that the worst? Is this coming week the worst week of Spotlight Caches?
It is going to be the worst week because it is the only week with a Series 4 card that also doesn't feel really solid in the meta.
Yeah, that's fair. I think that being the worst week though, it's kind of like it's still a solid week. I think Madam Web's gonna be insane, but it's definitely still a worse week in comparison, but it's still going to be a great time if you do want to open for this week. But yeah, 100%. I think if not this week, then the Aranya week's going to be absolutely amazing because I think Sage is insane, and I feel like Miss Marvel is just kind of like slept on right now, and I don't think she's meta breaking by any means, but she feels good.
It's just the clog. There's so much clog right now. You're getting a lot of 1-drops on your side of the board to not be able to use her too much. But I've been playing a Howard the Duck list that you sent, Robo, and it actually feels really good with a Miss Marvel.
Yeah, no, there's that fun list going around with it. Even uses like Wasp right now, which is a really cool bit of tech to like, for one, to be able to play on the final turn with Spectrum, for 2 to be able to like fill up your lane with Ant-Man. I just feel like Miss Marvel is a card that's really slept on and forgotten about, and it's a cool way to be able to use those types of lists. But I definitely think right now, if we were to talk about, would you agree that right now, if there was a big bad currently in the meta, because I feel like there's, stuff subs in and out, Arishem subs in and out, Thanos, Hela. If there was a meta big bad, I think it's Clog. I think that's a fair thing to say.
Yes, meta big bad is Clog, and the big bad would be Ajax.
I'd agree with that. But I don't, even with it, I would say it doesn't feel, even Ajax doesn't feel like the problem in that. I'd actually argue that, I'd argue that like White Widow feels worse. Maybe.
So like Ajax is just dropping a bunch of raw power. Hazmat is just you're fighting to not have priority, so less of your cards get hit. Where I think it is more of the other Clog cards that are enabling Clog, like the White Widow, the Viper, and those are probably the main 2. Green Goblin, I mean, like that happens. The Green Goblin Titania is annoying, but
I'm gonna argue what is it? The Acid Arrow from Kate.
Yep.
And also a sleeper card, which isn't going to be out. It's going to be in caches at the beginning of next month. Man-Thing. I actually want to say Man-Thing, I think, has been one of the most... If you're going to disagree on the US Agent, I will say Man-Thing has been so good currently. I think it's done so much value. It can... Again, here's the biggest thing is all these cards I can say that are giving value or not giving value, right? Luke Cage exists, so the card isn't a bad... No, a card can still be meta-relevant, but then a counter to that card still exists. That's fine. That's how metas work. Fun fact, I know. But legitimately, I think Man-Thing has done so much good. When you went to that 7 power stat line, I didn't know it would feel like that clean, but but it really does. Like, Man-Thing just hits right now.
It's literally so like U.S. Agent needed that extra 2 power to the negative affliction. Man-Thing needed that extra 2 power to its base power to feel better.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think, again, I've talked about it before. I liked U.S. Agent even before he got the buff. I thought it was a really cool card, and I was running him in some like, it was the Jean Grey Spectrum most of the time. And I really had a blast with that. And then now Man-Thing getting buffed again as well. It's so cool. I'm glad Man-Thing got that buff, but I want to say that Man-Thing buff, I think, is part of the reason why Clog is feeling so extremely meta relevant. I feel like it's just, it lets you do so much stuff and be able to shut your opponent down from being able to play in one lane. Be like, oh, hey, sorry, you wanted to play here? Oh, you're not going to enjoy it.
Yeah, no, I think that totally was the case. And I think if we look at why Clog's also so popular this week, U.S. Agent was in spotlights this week, so it makes sense for all the Clog and all the shenanigans and all for the Ajax stuff to be so relevant because people are wanting to play their new card. So, like, we totally get it. And then I think, do we want to go ahead and we've talked about the meta quite a bit. We've talked about Sandman. We talked about Clog. You got another meta thing? Okay.
The last meta card I want to talk about. Wiccan.
Yep.
I think Wiccan is the last meta card I want to talk about because if I'm not mistaken, based off the stats on Untapped, maybe I think your stats you're looking at slightly different. I don't know, but I think it's like one of the top like 5 decks right now. I want to say, if I'm not mistaken, Wiccan's kind of just cracked currently. If you're looking at I'm looking at currently the archetypes right now, meta matchups, I believe, or meta tier list, whatever. But I think Wiccan right now, when I'm looking at that, is if you do the meta tier list. In the top
we'll find Wiccan here in a second.
You're going to do that one. Okay.
There it is. There's one Wiccan list right here.
So, yeah, that's the most popular one. In general, again, I'm talking about post-infinite stats. It currently has a, has a 0.19% average cube rate, 52.6% win rate, and just under 5% popularity right now in general. Like that, I feel like Wiccan has just done so much stuff for the meta. I feel like Wiccan's, I love the fact that he exists as he is. I think he's really cool, and I don't know if I want him to get changed, but I really love the fact that he allowed you to, he has created so much different deck building. I think we talked about this maybe a week or two ago, whenever, like a week or so after he came out, but he's unlocked so much more, and I feel like he's done so many more interesting things. And I feel like it's rewarded so much more creative deck building and allows you to really do some cool stuff here. I think, if I'm saying like yesterday again, I'm going to talk about your previous videos. Your Alioth video, right? That's a Wiccan Alioth deck. And it's good. I've run that myself. It feels so nice. And I think it really goes into that whole deck building aspect and allowing players to be rewarded for building decks in a way that maybe isn't typical. It's atypical, but is still really interesting and really cool.
Yeah, and I think what I like about Wiccan too is it kind of opened up the Pixie archetype a little bit more as well. Because the Pixie value you can get from Wiccan, not only do you have extra power to like throw cards on the board now, or extra energy to throw cards on the board, you have the unknown of what's going to happen. Like when it comes to this list over here, like we have with Bounce, it allows you to throw as many 1-drops on the board with Hit Monkey to do a final turn kind of thing. And I think because of how popular Wiccan was, it also is why Sandman's so popular, because it's like you have extra energy, but you're only going to be able to play 1 card this turn. And it's the whole like either fighting to catch up kind of thing or trying to limit the slam. Like I feel like this like meta we have right now going still off Wiccan, which Wiccan's cool, adding the extra energy, is like you have this, I'm going to counter with this. Well, I'm playing this deck, which counters this deck. This deck counters this deck. So it's like everyone's running an iteration of counter decks opposed to just like 1 card using to kind of maybe counter what could happen over here. And I think that's why like the meta feels like it's okay, but at the same time, it kind of also feels a little boring because we're all kind of playing the same things. I'm going to counter you. I'm going to counter you. Oh, wait, this is a bad matchup for me. I get countered. And it just feels like we're all playing counter decks opposed to just fun decks, if that makes sense.
I will argue, I think Wiccan creates the most fun decks as it currently stands, I would say.
Yes, I would say yes.
Because, I don't know, my own personal opinion, and people enjoy Sandman, whatever, right? I love being able to make a bunch of different decisions and play a bunch of different cards, and I feel like Wiccan really rewards that. Even with that list you're looking at, the top one.
Yes.
I feel like oftentimes I've been able to use that list, and Sandman lists, again, like the one that you can see right below it, it's fairly common, so you can recognize it and be like, okay, I'm just gonna have to do my Hitmonkey Slam on turn 5 instead.
Yeah.
And then they can't really stop that.
Mm-hmm.
And it just feels so clean. I don't know. And also, one of the things that I've really enjoyed, and I think you noticed it, I don't know if you talked about it in your video, but one of the things I've noticed with Wiccan lists is that there are a lot of people, and I disagree with it, just running 3 1-drops and 3 2-drops, couple 3-drops, and then you go for big cards. And I don't feel like it's not consistent, in my opinion. I think it's maybe about like 70, 60%, which you might think is good. But if you're trying to build your deck around a combo like that, it's one of the reasons why I like, again, talking about the video you did yesterday, you've got Quicksilver as your consistent 1-drop. And because you have Quicksilver and you have 4 2-drops in that list, you are legitimately, based off stats, you are 90% to have a 2-drop on turn 2. And I think close to 90 for your turn 3 to still be spending all your energy as well. So you spend your energy and you build that very efficiently there, and using just being like, okay, do I really want more utility 1-drops here? Going with, maybe Ham, Hood, Nico, even Silver Sable, right? Just go for a bunch of those, and then maybe like a domino with the rest, or you just go Quicksilver, and like you did in yesterday's video, Kate, Cable, Jeff, and Pixie. You've got that, like, I love the building around that, because again, it feels like it just rewards such creative deck building with Wiccan as a whole. I don't think that another card is done. I feel like we're also slamming on Wiccan when we first came out. Like, oh, we're buffing him to a 4/7. He really feels good. If he was a 4/5, I'd probably still be okay with him. I think so, because he just does nothing you can do with another card. And I think if we're going to talk about the meta, like a lot of the cards, like I know we were like slamming on a lot of the meta, so I want to talk about Wiccan because he really, I feel like, has been the most positive card in the meta, I think, in the last few weeks. Again, you might even forget that Emperor Hulkling release, because he wasn't a card. Because they released him, and then 2 days later, pretty much, then they added, then they gave Taskmaster as another one of his hits for some dang reason. So he sucks, I think, but Wiccan has felt extremely cool, and I kind of love that.
Yeah, Wiccan, Marvel Boy, Kate Bishop. Those were the fun cards. And then it was Hulkling, garbage. Speed, good, but boring. And I think we go looking at the cards we have this season, and it's like Symbiote Spider-Man, fun card. Silver Sable, good card, a little boring, has an amazing animation.
Meta or fun. What are you doing? This is just the meta thoughts.
I know. But like Madam Web, that is going to be a fun / skill diff kind of card. Like, it's going to go crazy. It's going to be a flexible 2-drop like Jeff, just because the unknown properties you can do with it at 2. Aranya is going to be a fun, also skill tech card. Same with Symbiote Spider-Man. Not Symbiote Spider-Man. Scarlet Spider is going to be also a fun skill tech card. So it's interesting to see what all that is going on later this season. But
do you want to talk about Madam Web before we go to the
let's talk about some good old
Sorry, I know
Madam
you're trying
Web.
to push us over to the next section, but I realized we haven't really talked about the card that's coming out today, really.
Yep. Let's see, I might have to go.
What was it? Yeah, so Madam Web, as Tucker pulls it up, is a 2-cost, 1-power card that has an ongoing ability, once you may move 1 card away from here once per turn, which is that's a very different ability. Again, I think I talked about when the card was first like being shown or discussed, but it being an ongoing was something I didn't expect, for 1, and for 2, it's incredibly interesting to see this ability being at a 2-cost 1. Like, the stat line for this ability is also really interesting. What is it? What are you excited with this card, though? What's going on here with this for you?
So I think what I like about this card is, like, there's a bunch of flexibility with it. Like, you can play it into Destroy. Maybe it's a Locopium. Maybe it's not. Maybe you can play it into even, like, a Sauron list, which is, I know, maybe a little bit crazy, but just using it as a 2. You play it out on 2 before Sauron. You can play your Shuri and your big card, and then you can move your big card somewhere. So they have to worry about where
Similar to like an armor?
Yeah, similar to like an armor, but like they have to
I like
find
that
out where to
logic,
chunky
actually,
it.
yeah.
So like I like that.
Because
And
it would basically remove the need of a vision in that list, right?
mm-hmm.
It would kind of take that's a really interesting, I haven't thought about that tech before. I like that.
Yeah, that actually, I just thought about that on the spot, and I think we're gonna be messing around with that. So, fun fact for you.
His soul, there you go. I love it. No, I'm
Yeah.
excited about this one in Elsa decks. I really want to do Elsa
Yes.
stuff. I feel like Elsa's kind of been slept on as of late because like it became worse with like the Athena and Angela and stuff like that. But like I feel like this is going to do a lot of stuff in those lists and not just make it so you need to use Nocturne or the moving cards in general. Madam Web kind of lets you have that flexibility in general. It's going to be sick. Yeah, and not to mention, of course. Sorry, go ahead.
I wonder like how Symbiote Spider-Man works with the Madam Web. If Symbiote Spider-Man moves to another location, do you have to wait the next turn to play or to activate the Symbiote Spider-Man, or can you do it when he moves over, activate? I wonder. I know move happens first, but that's something I'm probably gonna mess around with.
I want to say I think I've done it with New York before.
Okay.
And I would imagine it's similar. So you would just move it, and then once all your stuff has been moved / resolved, then your on reveals and or activates will trigger in that order that they get played or activated. So I think it will still be in that similar way. Okay. Yeah. No, I do think Madam Web's going to be extremely interesting, and it's really going to. I feel like everyone's talking about the month of move, and I think this is the month of move. Move? No, move. But sorry, I've read web, and for some reason it said
move.
Anyway. Move. But I feel like this card is going to be super useful inside of move, and I'm surprised, and I think I said this last week, that Dagger wasn't nerfed and Taskmaster was. Like, especially with the way this card is going to work. And I think I've heard this said by many people. Move was not built, or like those cards, Human Torch, Dagger, and such. Like those cards were not built with Madam Web in mind.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong, and Second Dinner had this stuff. But at least from our perspective, those cards were not built with that in mind. So Madam Web working with move is going to be insane. Those moving cards are going to be astronomical in terms of their stats.
Yeah, and I think that was the main reason for the Taskmaster change, was maybe more Human Torch than it was for Dagger. And I think like just fundamentally, like not knowing what's going to move, like you see how New York, like Dance was talking about, can literally flip a game because, oh yes, they're going to move all their stuff over here, so I just need to play for these other lanes. Oh, they actually didn't move a single card over there. They played all their other stuff. Like, it's just the whole mind game. Yes, it's only one card you can move, but it's per turn. Like, it's going to be freaking incredible.
No, the mind games with this, it makes sense why this was nerfed from like a 2-3 to a 2-1, just because of those mind games. Because I feel like that's going to change everything. Like, this is, I think, the card that will change move as a whole. I don't think there is a better way to put that. Move will not be the same after this card releases, because as of now, I feel like move's been extremely limited. I don't feel like there's a reason. Like it's always has felt like the underdog, the worst one. And I think I've said it before, where it's like move just is for people that you don't want to have to think a lot, and you don't have to feel like you're having to do all of this brain power against it. But Madam Web and Hercules are just going to break people's brains.
Yeah,
there's not a way. Like your brain is going to be broken because of those two cards, and I'm all here. I'm here for it. I'm here for it, bro. I'm stoked for that stuff.
And it's literally the unknown aspect we talked about with Erisham is in similar vein to with Madam Web. Which card are they going to move off to this location? What power do I have to assess for? Are they moving it left? Are they moving it right? Are they keeping it here? Are they moving something else instead? Like, it's just that whole aspect of unknown, which can be a snap condition, which could be a retreat condition. Like, it's just going to be all sorts. Professor X is going to come back, by the way. Professor X is going to work with Madam Web because you could just move stuff into Professor X's lane. So just keep that in mind. That's going to be crazy. But yeah, no, this card's going to be fun. And then we have an OTA 2 days later. So, like, with that in mind.
Yeah, as we move to the OTA, I will say the deck, and it's not going to be a good deck, but I want to try it. I want to try a Spectrum ongoing list with Professor X, with Mystique, with Madam Web, with like Jean Grey and such, just to really screw it. Like, it's gonna be true movement screw, and I kind of love this idea, and I don't know if it's gonna be a good idea in any way, But that's what I'm excited about with this card. Like one of my favorite ideas with this. But yeah, let's talk about the OTAs. I'm sorry, I've kept us on the meta too long.
No, you are good. You wanna start us off with your first card?
Okay, yeah, I'm down. Yeah. I will say, as I look at the cards that I have, I'm looking through this right now. I don't really have a lot of cards that I've said I want to nerf. I have 2 here. I think we have 5 each in total.
Yes.
I only have 2 I want to nerf.
Okay.
And I'll do one of my buff ones to start. And I was thinking about talking about this during the activate section.
Okay.
But I want Sandman to be an activate.
Okay.
So,
Sandman.
Yeah, I feel like Sandman right now, if if we're going to talk about like a card that should be activated, this is I've heard this float around with a couple of my buddies in general, and it just felt like a good idea. Sandman right now, like there's no punishment for it. You just throw it down and it's there every single time. I want this. I want to feel like it's not coming out of nowhere. I want to feel at least like it's something interesting. And I think activate still lets it work just as well, but at least it doesn't hit you as hard. Doesn't feel like it's going to slam you in the face as much as it would with an active ability, which at least like, oh hey, I'm probably going to get Sandman soon. I don't know of the right stat line that would work. I could say a 4 cost and maybe be better at like a 3 and I don't know. I wrote down 4/4 in my notes. I could easily see it up or down. I have no idea how good it would be at that stat line, but I would like to see Sandman still basically say 4/4 and I can activate. Players, and same ability, players can only play 1 card next turn. So it would still be the next coming turn. It has to be there. So you don't feel like you're going to get punished out of the blue. I know the Sandman lists exist, and it's easy to play around those, even with the bounce lists, in my opinion, because you can see it coming. But the lists like Airshim and such, or maybe the ones that are just running Sandman randomly in there, it feels like. I'd like those to not feel as rough.
Okay, that's an interesting take. I've heard some people talking about making Sandman activate. I think the mind games of activate it's fair for the Sandman adjustment. I think I would take more power away from Sandman. I'd make Sandman a 5/4 again, and just keep him on reveal. I would take away 2 power. I feel like the power adjustment they did from a 5/7 to a 5/6 just wasn't enough. I think there's definitely some cards that deserve to be activate. But I mean, then knowing that Sandman's going to activate, playing around that does help. But I think that takes away a lot of Sandman's just like ability, making him an activate instead of making him an on reveal for that surprise Sandman in some of those lists. Because I think that's like the main thing is now it's not a surprise because people know they're playing Sandman. But I think like what Sandman does is a surprise. Oh no, Sandman's coming down. I can't play my combo.
I think you still would feel that. Again, well, I'm saying without any knowledge, I'm not saying dinner. I would still feel that if they played the Sandman down and you realize it's an activate, like, oh no, it's still coming down. You still know it's going to be a thing. It just doesn't do the exact same as it would as an on reveal. Like you still have that oh no moment, but it's like, oh no, I'm about to be countered. And I feel like because I feel like even if you nerf his power more, I think he's just going to come back. In all honesty, I think there's just going to be a way that he could always return in the similar way that when they buffed Leech or nerfed Leech, and made him like a 5 cost and all that stuff, right? He still came back eventually, and I think he still became oppressive. And I feel like it's just like, oh wait, just getting hit out of the blue with that stuff. Same thing with Dr. Octopus, and same thing with Sandman. And I think if you take Sandman's surprise away and not just make it be like, haha, you're screwed. Just kind of putting it like a check, like just basically moving someone's king into check. If we're going to talk about chess terms, just basically saying like, I'm about to do this to you. What are you going to do about it? And then them saying like, shoot. I feel like it creates more brain plays. I don't know if brain plays is the right word, but like it creates more thinking around whatever they might do with the activate. But I could just see it going down in power, and I wouldn't mind that either. I just feel like if they do that, I feel like it's going to come back, and I don't know if that's going to matter.
I think of the 3, Sandman is the least oppressive than like Doc Ock and Leech. Old Leech too, the way it works. I think we don't like playing Sandman because we can't play all the cards we need on final turn, but I think the more difficult thing with Sandman is that the Ultron bots have 2 power instead of the Ultron bots having 1 power. If the Ultron bots had 1 power, I think it would be a little bit less feels bad again with how popular that list is now, or if Ultron had less power himself. Like I know like Sandman, like we look at the win rate, we look at the cube rate, and we're looking like Sandman's winning games on turn 5. Like Sandman's not flipping games like playing Sandman, and like it's kind of that matchup dependent kind of thing. But like if you know Sandman's coming down anyways, you adjust for it. I think the activate, I don't know. I just don't like Sandman as the activate. I think it takes away more of Sandman, and like Sandman's cube rate, his play rate, and everything will go way further down if it's an activate instead of an on reveal.
Was that one of your cards you had recommended for OTA? You want Sandman to go to a 5/4? Was that one of your choices?
That is. I don't think that's one of my choices for today. No, not for today.
Oh, okay, no, that's fair. Yeah, I feel like there's a lot more we can say on that, but
yes.
We've got a bunch more other cards. Let's keep going. What do you got here then?
So we already talked about this a little bit earlier. I think the acid arrow for Kate Bishop needs to go to a 1/1 instead of a
1/-1.
A 1/1 instead of a 1/2.
Well, then you know what? I do have this one written down, so I will support you in this. I have no issue with this whatsoever. If I didn't talk about it very purposely, I didn't talk about Kate when we were talking about clog stuff because I did want to talk about it here. I think Kate's acid arrow, yes, it's random in that, but I think the acid arrow, I feel like that's one you're always looking for.
Yeah.
And I think that one going down, I'd love to see it, as well as honestly, I could also see. I wrote down as like question mark. It's like both of them. So it's like 2-1, whatever. I also wrote down the grappler could go down to a 1/2. I feel like it's still really good.
Yeah, because it's better than like a Ghost Spider in a way.
Yeah. The only thing is, if they bring it down to a 1/2, I think they have to fix the animation being so laggy. If they bring it down to a 1/2, it's
only if they bring it down to 1/2.
It's a worthwhile change. Right now, it's the 3 power for it is because it's such a laggy ability. That's why. That's my copium right now. That's what I believe.
No, surely they change it like Aranya. They change it like for some of the Aranya things because Aranya is going to be... Bro, if Aranya is as laggy as the grapple arrow was, because mechanically it's next card kind of thing, but...
I will say, I don't even think that is good logic because there's other cards, right? When you play them down, they'll show a connection to it. I think with Ghost Spider, when you play it, it shows a connection to the previous card you played. It's not as laggy as with the grapple arrow thing, so... I don't know. I could see both of those cards getting hit. I think Kate as a whole is really cool.
Yeah.
I just think those are a little bit too good, and I definitely think that the acid arrow is assisting with clog. I don't know. Sorry, I know this was yours, but it was also mine, so I wanted to.
No, we're good. I think we're all cohesive. We're hive mind.
We're just agreeing too much. Okay, yes. Got it.
All right. What is your next one?
So I'll skip over acid arrow then. But if what is it? Another one that I have. I guess Sandman was a nerf. I don't know. I'll do a spicier one. I'll talk about Hulkling.
Okay.
I think Emperor Hulkling sucks, and I think we've been joking about him repeatedly. I think he should go to a 6/13 that's, instead of at the start of the game, when this enters your hand, copy the text of a random 6-cost card. And I say when this enters your hand rather than when you draw this, very specifically, because I want it to at least be beneficial if you get the card randomly off of a location, or it generated based off of another, like Valentina's worse now, Nick Fury's even worse now. Like there's so many cards that are worse. So I want to say that when this enters your hand, a little bit there, because then it still works in the very similar way. It's just, I want it to be a little bit better in those specific situations, and I do think it needs a step up. I don't think 11 works.
What if you make it a 5/10, same ability?
They talked about it being a 5-cost, and they said it didn't work for them. I think I don't remember the exact specifics on that, and I don't have it in front of me, so I can't pull it up. They said they tried the 5-cost at a certain frame, and I don't know how that works for them. Or I don't know what did not work there. So I was going off of that logic with the 6. I wouldn't mind a 5 either, honestly. I wouldn't, but I definitely just think this card needs some love.
I think if you make this a 13. You gotta buff regular Hulk. Regular Hulk just freaking being a 6/12.
New player experience is like really important,
though.
Gosh. Really important, that new player experience. But I think with a 6/13, it's still honestly worth it. Like I feel like there's so many cards what is it? I played over 100 games with Emperor Hulkling, and I'll tell you, there were so many games where he was worse than vanilla. Like he did nothing. And I feel like a 6/13, making him barely better than Hulk, is, I think, fair.
Barely
even if you draw Hulk.
And then Giganto. So you still get less power if you play him left than you would a normal Giganto.
Yeah. Honestly, like, I can be proven wrong, but the Hulkling Galactus games, the Hulkling Null games, the Hulkling Blob games were so far and in between compared to the myriad of other cards that didn't matter. The Hellas, the Apocalypses, the Spectrums, all of those cards that I didn't have. The Destroyers, right? Like it just didn't do anything. So I stand by the 13. I can be wrong here, but I feel like I don't know. I definitely like the ability more than his current one, so that at least it gives you more stuff when the card is generated and put into your hand. But at least on that front, yeah, that's my take at least on Hulkling. If I'm going to say that another card that I would like to see get a little bit of love.
This card needs just a Jurassic buff. It is so bad. So I anything to like kind of help this card, I'm for. Don't exactly know what it is, but this freaking card is absolutely garbage.
It is some garbage, just some dog water. What do you have? What's the card that you wanna? What's the card you want to see get some love then?
Love?
Do you have any cards you want to show love to?
I have one card I want to show love to.
Ooh, I like this one.
And this card we've been talking about for a couple weeks. Maybe you guys have heard it. Maybe you guys have not. I want High Evo Shocker to hit the highest cost card in your hand one time and make it cost one less. That's it.
I think apparently I recommended this ability.
You did.
I don't remember it, but I like it. I don't know. The High Evo package is using every single card except for Shocker. Yes. It's boggling to me. I don't care if this ability would be broken. I'm fine with it. I don't know. The card isn't used at all. So going from not being used at all to being at least one of the better cards, at least being able to compete with some of the other stuff that we have out there. Like the thing is being used inside of lists right now.
Yeah, we have so many cards that are already big power anyways. Like, yes, hitting a Hulk is going to be pretty crucial, so you can do a She-Hulk and, Hulk on final turn kind of thing. But I feel like there's so many other cards that we have right now. Shang-Chi is still popular. Ajax gets huge. People are doing wicked things, so they're playing Magneto and Goliath either a turn before or kind of thing. Erisham exists, so they're playing big cards as well. I just feel like that would be kind of cool. And I think, honestly, it would promote even more deck building with High Evo. Like, you don't even have to just play a High Evo list with the Hulks and stuff for Shocker value. You could be doing other things, which is really cool. But yeah, I would love this to get just that little adjustment. And it doesn't affect early gameplay,
Yeah, no, I don't think they're going to touch the card, like the stats. Like I could see, I like it if Hulk got buffed legitimately, but I don't think Hulk ever will because it's an early game card and it's very crucial to their experience, what have you. I love this idea. I like this idea. Okay, can I do a one that you'll disagree with now at least, so we can have some sort of what is it? But the problem is I don't think you're going to disagree with this one. Dang it. Do you have a different one? Do you have a different one? Because I think I only have two left right here. Give me one that I'll disagree with, please.
So I think that Doctor Strange.
Okay.
Needs either a sort of rework or a power buff.
Interesting. Okay.
I think Doctor Strange, for what he does, could be a 2/4 or potentially even a 2/5 just because of this card overall. Like, I'm thinking lore-wise, how freaking awesome Doctor Strange is. Or I like the idea of Doctor Strange moving some like more than just highest cost or highest power cards, like tweaking that. Maybe it is like moving a clogged lane or like moving something different. Do some more targeted stuff with Doctor Strange or making him an activate kind of move highest power card to this location. Because like it's more controlled what he can do kind of thing. I feel like it'd be just interesting to tweak this just a little bit. Give Doctor Strange some more love, which, by the way, Doctor Strange is some of the best variants in the game that we just don't talk about because this card just is not used. But do something to this card. I don't know verbatim what I do want, but you could maybe update the movement or something. But yeah,
I like the idea of it being like the highest power card in the lane with the most cards, something like that. I don't know how you do that, but like I do like the idea in general of him being able to free up a lane. I don't know how. I'm glad that you did this one, so I can disagree a little bit. Because I don't know if I fully agree, honestly, because the fact that we're about to get such a big movement combination, like they're going to get so many good cards coming out these next 2 weeks here for movement, that I don't know if I truly agree 100% with you. but at the same time, I do still like the idea of him getting a buff.
Yeah.
So I say I'm scared of what's gonna come, but at the same time, I like the idea in general for him getting a change.
Yeah, I think it could be cool. I feel like I know JD was running some Doctor Strange in his Phoenix Force, which is cool. I like that as like an alternate line to do some Nimrod things. But it'll be interesting kind of just to see what happens with all the movement stuff before we go and actually buff like these movement cards, like you're saying.
Yeah. No, I like that. Okay. No, I like that in general. All right, I'll give a very simple one. This one, I don't even think you'll disagree with this. I think Viper should go to a 3/4.
Yes, that was actually on my list.
Oh, perfect, cool. I'm glad we each had two from each other. But yeah, Viper should go to. Why do you like this idea? I'll give you that as well because I took your Acid Arrow talk.
I think like her stat line is so good at a 3/5 for what it does. It is literally the premium stat line. I mean, we look at Copycat, which Copycat probably will go to a 3/4 eventually too, because she's still just incredibly good. Nocturne went to a 3/4. I think a lot of these cards that are just the way they are, like really super solid stat lines, what they do is really impactful on the game. Adding this to Clog, I think would be what they do. They take away 1 power from Viper, make her a 3/4, and they give that 1 power to a Nihilist and make him a 5/7.
I wouldn't mind that. Yeah, I definitely think at least giving you more logic between using both those cards, I think would be completely fine. At least some benefits for one versus the other, because you're not seeing both used, but I would like to see both of them get a little bit. What that is, I don't have an Annihilus buff in this list, but I do like the idea in general of Viper getting a change. It's weird because at the same time, a 3/5 it typically is something that is detrimental to yourself. If you look at like Lady Sif, right? Lady Sif is a 3/5, even though you would argue it's a great ability typically for what you're going to try to do with it. Wave is a 3/5, right? And that's fine for what you're like. Again, the list that you're wanting to do that in, you love that. Even Baron Zemo's a 3/5, and it's okay. But I do think that oftentimes Viper is never just a 3/5. Is the differences between those two? Maybe not so much with Baron Zemo, but Viper is never just a 3/5. Viper is a 3/8 if you're just going to say just the hood, because you also send it over to your opponent's side, and it's not even just 3/8 because then you clog their side of the board. So it does so much more in general. And yes, I'm talking about that situation, but I do think Viper is an incredibly good card right now, and I do think I like the fact that she is now good again in comparison to what we had before, which was was it 3/5 with her old ability, or just a random card at her location? Yeah, I like this one. I do like the current ability. I do not want that to change, but I do think she needs to. I think she just needs to get taken down a little peg. I don't know. I do agree with that.
Okay. Yeah. No, I like that. I just came up with a brand new. Like I had my list set, but I just came up with an even better thing than what I had already had. So I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna
say it. Say what's off your dome.
So we are going to make Crystal and Activate with the same ability.
Activate same ability.
So you can use this either your hand has bricked and you need to draw a card, or you can even use this at the end of the game with a Ronin list. You can play your Master Mold, Crystal, Master Mold, Activate Crystal into some other situations, using this as kind of, maybe I don't need a card now, maybe I do need this card for my combo now. Maybe I've done a thing to clog my opponent's hand, so then I can activate and only get the special draw for me. Like, I feel like this could be a very interesting, or just completely rework this card, because you look at the win rate, you look at the cubes and the play rate.
Yeah.
I feel like this is a card that we don't talk about enough, but I think this is something you could make activate.
This is an interesting one for it to be an activate. I don't mind this idea that much. I don't know if it needs it still, but I don't mind this one as much. I feel like there are some cards that are going to be very interesting if and when activate maybe gets spread out, but I like the logic behind it. I don't know if I'm going to be fully sold on this, but I do like that. Yeah.
Okay, that just came to my dome right there.
Nice. No, that's a fair one. You have one more, right?
Yes.
Okay, you want me to go or you want to do it?
You can go.
All right, I'm going to do Warpath.
Okay.
I'm going to say Warpath. Warpath needs some love, and I think that what you do with him is you ignore I don't think you go with the ongoing. I think his ability you just basically don't do anymore. I want to see him have the same stat line, but then say after each turn, if any of your locations are empty, +2 power.
+2 power, so on max he'd be like a 4-9 if you play him on curve.
If you play him on curve, 4-9 on curve, or if you have the extra turn, let's say you play him a turn early and or magic, it's still 4-11, 4-13. It gives you ways to ramp him very cleanly, very easily, but it's at the very, it just doesn't punish you for using every single location, and it doesn't remove all of the clog susceptibility, but it still lets it be a useful card in those situations.
Yes, and for like the mechanics and everything too, it's a pretty easy mechanic to learn early on in the game as well.
Yeah, no, 100%. I agree with that. Yeah, I think it is a lot better. I like that a lot personally. I think it's going to be, I don't know. I wanted to talk about, I had a lot of ideas, and I think one of the things I wanted to do when I recommended these things in the OTA was really lean into the fact that it didn't just have to be stat changes, didn't just have to be making an activate ability. Part of the reason why I had the Hulkling also being when it enters your hand, and I think with Warpath, they showed they can do some really cool stuff with like a Tuma. And I think Warpath, if we're going to talk about the next card that needs to get some love from Second Dinner, I think Warpath is potentially top of the list. And it feels like it hits the same vein, but is definitively different. And I think still really cool.
Yeah, no, I like the Warpath, and I think as a Series 2 card, it's definitely a change you can add to this card that doesn't make it like something that's impossible to kind of like understand. So I think that is good. I like that.
Yeah, no. And what do you got for your last one?
I have good old Mockingbird becoming a 7/10.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I mean, it's just Mockingbird's still a very good card right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, I think. Yeah. Do you want to go into more details of why exactly so?
So I think at the 6/10, it allowed her to be protected by Kyra, which like really enabled her in the zoo list, which I know is not one of the main cards that's winning the games for the zoo lists. But I think when there is going to be a resurgence of some of these other decks like Thanos, like I think Thanos, after there's some activate stuff happening, I think Thanos might make a comeback. But I think just what this card does overall, I think like at a 7/10, I think it's just more fair with all the location help and everything this card gets and everything too. I think you can still get her out early, even at like the 7 cost and everything. But I don't know. I just think 6 cost is still a little too low on the card.
Yeah, I feel like it's still a good card. I don't hate it, but I'm also not entirely for it. Maybe it's just me. I just feel like I like Mockingbird, so I don't want her to get nerfed.
Mm-hmm.
But I could easily see it. Also, I would say if they nerf her the 2 days after she leaves Spotlight Caches, that's a little feels bad.
Yes.
I'm not gonna lie to you, but I could see it. If they go for a similar thing they did before, maybe make her a 7/11. Which is a funny thing.
7/11.
But maybe 7/11, yeah, just go off of a Slurpee. But maybe if you give her a stats buff too, at least, so it's not just an entire, again, nerf there, it's a side grade. I think that would be okay. I'd be more on board with that one.
Okay.
So that she still isn't, it's not just hurting her. It is just like, okay, you have to do more, but you still again get more value out of it in the same way that the 5/9 to a 6/10 worked. If you do something similar to the 7/11, I think that'd be interesting.
I'm here for 7/11.
Yeah, well, the card or the ability or the
both. That's also
location?
the date that my wife and I got married. 7/11. We love it.
Oh, that's a fun little tidbit. Did not know that. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have anything interesting about the day I got married.
Oh, nothing interesting. Ayo.
Well, I mean, it's a great day, but like nothing about the date itself. And my birthday's more interesting, but that's not it.
But wait. We got an event coming up. I think it's in 1 day from posting this video. Are we not mistaken?
Yeah. So my birthday is tomorrow as of this video. Oh God, we're recording this video 2 days before my birthday. I didn't realize that. That's weird. Anyway, I'm doing a birthday stream. It'll be Wednesday evening, and that's just gonna be a fun time. I just want to play a lot of Snap. I've got a fun announcement that'll be occurring then as well. Tucker knows about it, but it's gonna be a very fun time, and I'm excited in general. So I guess we're kind of reaching the end of the Snapchat. So the promotional phase, if y'all want to check me out. Twitch.tv/notmydance. I'll be there. I think I should be live around, I want to say 4 p.m. EST, or not EST, sorry, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, which would be 7 p.m. EST. Yeah, did I do that right? Cool.
Yep.
I should be live around then, if not a little bit afterwards. But if you are interested, there you go. Self-promotional thing. That's what I'll recommend. But Tucker, do you have anything cool going on? Are you going to be streaming anytime soon? I don't think you have any cool events, but still.
I'll be streaming pretty much every night this week. We always take Thursday nights off, but around the 9 or more like 10, 11 p.m. EST, around that window. Never really on the dot because that's just how we do things around here. Dance knows from a lot of experience that I'm not very on time when it comes to streaming or stuff. But yeah, that's the general gist. Be on the lookout for more YouTube videos, amazing thumbnails, of course, by notmydance. Thank you guys for all the support for the yaps. We're going to be trying to put the yaps onto some audio platforms as well, so you can just listen to them instead of just having to watch. The support on the YouTube overall has been absolutely tremendous, and we're really, really grateful for that. And like, let us know down below, what card are you guys most looking forward in October for? Not September, for October. We're gonna read through some of those. We might actually do a little sneak peek at some October stuff next week. But yeah, we're super excited. Thank you guys for hanging out. And until the next time, Dance's info is gonna be down in the description below. My info is gonna be down in the description below. And please definitely follow Dance. And then yeah, until next time, my friends, you guys have a good one. It's been real, and laters.